Hello! Welcome back to my channel and thank you very much for clicking. If you already watched other videos of mine or if you are watching this video for the first time, you are probably already noticed that I have an accent. In fact, English is not my first language, it's actually my fourth language. I had to learn English by myself. In this video, I'm gonna first talk about my story on how I learned English. Then I'm gonna give you tips and tricks how you can learn English if you are learning at the moment. So let's start with my story. So I grew up in France and in Germany. When I was 9 years old, we moved out to Germany. And in Germany, it's where I started learning English at school. And I must admit, Germany is really good at teaching English at schools. At school, we learned grammar, we learned a lot of vocabularies, and English was my favorite subject, I think, because I knew 3 languages prior. I was able to understand very quick without studying at all, but also there were a lot of things that I didn't practice. For example, we had vocabulary tests every 2 weeks and I always got a bad grade because I never learned my vocabularies. I never did. I learned them afterwards. I'm gonna tell you how exactly I learned them afterwards. But I also learned just the basics of English when I was at school. So I went to school every day and class was fun. That was the reason why I was able to learn English in some degree. But you know, when you have to learn a language and you are in class, it's not just enough to be in class. You have to learn afterwards. You have to learn at home. And this is what I never did. That's why I always had bad grades. But in school, I was one of the best students. I always liked to speak and my teacher always told me, "You are very good at English. Why do you have bad grades?" But at that time, I didn't understand at all. The biggest reason why I learned English in my free time was pretty much a lot of things are Americanized. I don't know if it's the right word, but I listened to American music. I watched Hollywood movies. Especially with music, I always listened to music while simultaneously reading the lyrics. That way I was able to learn the vocabularies. A lot of time I saw a word and I was like, I think that I learned it at school, but I totally forgot. I looked it up and that way I learned English and vocabularies. However, I must give a disclaimer when it comes for me to learning English because I already knew German and French prior to this, so there were a lot of similarities. When I started learning Japanese, I figured out why it is difficult for me, because the grammar is first of all completely different. It's not that we have subject, verb and so on. In Japanese the verb is in the end, so my brain needs to get used to the grammar when I speak in Japanese. But because I knew German and French before, in English grammar is pretty much the same. So when I was reading the lyrics, I kinda already knew the grammar. I kinda already understand a little bit of it. I just didn't know the words. So when I looked it up, I understood and I memorized all the words. And not only that, a lot of words in English are pretty similar to German and French. So I really had a big advantage before. That's why I want to mention that no matter where you are from, if you are learning English, you can do it. It's just maybe for you, if you don't speak like a similar language, it might be a little more difficult, but you got this. I'm learning Japanese and first it was like, what? But for me it's so much fun learning Japanese and I love seeing the progress. I love seeing when I understand the things, and it's also a challenge and I like to be challenged learning a language. So overall, I think if we didn't have influence from media from the USA, like movies and music. I don't know if I wanted to learn English, but I'm glad in some way that it happened. Same with Japanese. My interest in Japanese came first from media, and I think for a lot of people it starts there. I think because of the internet we are getting more and more media from all over the world, which is nice. For example, because of K-pop, a lot of people want to learn Korean. And also, I don't know if you remember Tokyo Hotel, there were a big band from Germany, and back then they were so popular over the whole world. A lot of people wanted to learn German, and back then I was like, who wants to learn German? But because of Tokyo Hotel, a lot of people wanted to. First of all, if you know Tokyo Hotel, please let me know in the comments. And second of all, what do you think about learning a language because of media? So now I want to give you some tips and tricks on how to learn English. Or honestly, you can take these methods and advices for any languages. When it comes to learning a language, you have to master two main things. The one is input and the other is output. Input is listening and reading. Output is speaking and writing. So I'm gonna give you some tips and methods on learning for those four categories. First being listening, I already touched on this. For me personally, I love to listen to music while reading the lyrics. This is technically 2 in 1, so it's listening and reading. So you're gonna be using your input and output at the same time. But you can of course just listen to the music while, I don't know, cook dinner or something and try to understand the words and stuff that you already learned. Another way is of course watching a movie or a show in your target language. Also you can use subtitles, so you are also doing both at the same time. The difference between listening to a song or watching a movie is that when you are watching a movie, you are looking at a visual. You are seeing what the people are doing in the movie. So through context, you might understand even more. The next one is reading. This might be obvious, but you can read books and magazines. But you can also go on social media and read the stuff that you like. I always like to tell that I like to follow on Instagram like Japanese restaurants or Starbucks from Japan, McDonald's from Japan, 7-Eleven and stuff. And I like to read the captions, I like to read the pictures when they write stuff on the pictures. Also, I love food, so it's something that it interests me. So try to find something that interests you on social media and follow them. Maybe it's beauty, maybe it's science. I don't know, science can be a little bit overwhelming, but why not? If you want to be an expert, you try what you want to do. When it comes to books, also I like to start with children's books because they are so easy to read and they are really cute and have pictures. When it comes to writing, I recommend writing them with a pen and paper. To be honest, if you are writing on your phone, you'll most likely have autocorrector and you will not be able to learn how to write them properly. I honestly struggle with this one. There are words that I honestly don't really know how to write them properly, and I just let autocorrector do his thing, or maybe sometimes I Google it, but nevertheless it's better to write them down so that you are able to write them correctly and not sabotage yourself. You can journal. I really like to journal, or like having a diary, I think. You can write down what you did today, and when you don't know the words, you can look them up. And when the grammar is not the best, it's okay because you are writing. And later on, you can look up at your journal and you will see all the mistakes and that you had progress, because now you see that there are many mistakes. What I also like to do is I make a to-do list or a shopping list. Those are really quick words that you can write down, and maybe you want to learn all the vegetables in English, or all the things that you buy, or maybe the things that you are doing every day. So that way you are learning little by little new vocabularies and you know how to write them. The last part is the most difficult part for me, which is speaking, because I'm an introvert. If you do not live in a country where people speak English, like me, I live in Germany and I speak German for 95% of my day. You can try some apps. There are a lot of apps where you can talk to people. I personally never used any of those apps, but I will eventually try it in the future because I want to improve my Japanese. If you are lucky enough to have friends who are speaking English, you can talk to them in English. That way you're really improving your output. And the last thing that I do all the time is I talk to myself. I know it sounds ridiculous, but try to talk to yourself when you are doing random things. For example, when I cook, I be like, yeah, I'm cooking, I'm cutting my potato or something like this. I'm trying to figure out how to say it in Japanese. So you can do it, of course, in your target language or in English. Usually, most of the time you are thinking without realizing, and you are most likely thinking in the language that you know the best. So try to call your mind on talking now in English or any other languages that you are currently learning. So the next time when you are cooking, try to make sentences in English while preparing delicious food. Tell me in the comments if those methods really help you. If they did, please give me a like. Also consider subscribing to my channel, and I hope I see you next time. Bye!